If you've spent any time online lately, you might have seen one specific year popping up again and again, and usually not in a good way. That year is 2026. It's a date that's being talked about in whispers of old prophecies, but it's also being echoed in some pretty serious scientific warnings. So today, we're going to unpack why this single year has become such a massive focus for anxiety around the world. So, what is the deal with 2026? It's kind of weird, right? You've got this strange convergence online where it feels like everyone from spiritual gurus to climate scientists are all looking at the horizon and saying, yep, something big is coming. But is this just a case of internet hype getting out of control? Or are we genuinely standing on the edge of a major turning point for our planet? A lot of this fear really comes down to one person, a blind Bulgarian mystic named Baba Vanga. Even though she's no longer with us, her prophecies have blown up, capturing global attention and, honestly, painting a pretty grim picture of what's just around the corner. So you might be asking, why are people taking her so seriously? Well, her followers will point to a track record that is, frankly, pretty unnerving. She's credited with predicting the 9/11 attacks way back in 1989. She also supposedly foresaw Brexit. And it's that history, that track record, that has so many people spooked about her warnings for 2026. And here it is. This is the big one, her terrifying prediction for 2026. People who interpret her vision say she warned of a year filled with natural disasters on a scale we've never seen before. We're talking about huge earthquakes, volcanoes erupting, and weather so out of control that it could make parts of the earth almost impossible for people to live in. But okay, this isn't just a story about one person's psychic visions. This is where things get really interesting. Now we're going to shift gears from the mystical to the measurable and ask a pretty critical question. Does any of our modern science, our data, actually back up these decades-old warnings? And this is where it starts to feel a little unsettling. On the one hand, you have a mystic's vision of a planet with weather so extreme it becomes unlivable. And on the other hand, you have scientists with hard data showing that global temperatures are climbing so fast, we're getting dangerously close to a climatic point of no return. The parallels, they're really hard to just brush off. And look, this isn't some problem for our brand kids to worry about. The extreme weather Baba Vanga talked about, it's already here. Weather departments all over the world are basically saying that the crazy climate shifts we saw in 2025 were just the warm-up act. They're predicting that in 2026, things are going to get even more intense, with blistering heat in some places and extreme bone-chilling cold in others. So to really understand what a global threat like this actually looks like on the ground, we need to focus on a specific place. Let's zoom in on Pakistan, a country that has found itself on the absolute front line of the climate crisis. A place where all these warnings about the future are already a daily reality. And this right here, this really highlights the deep injustice of climate change. Pakistan contributes a tiny, minuscule fraction of global pollution. But its vulnerability to the consequences of that pollution, it's among the highest in the entire world. It's a country that is suffering terribly for a problem it had almost no part in creating. The thing is, the situation is even more serious because Pakistan isn't just dealing with one single threat. It's fighting a war on multiple fronts at the exact same time, staring down a whole cascade of crises that are all interconnected and just make each other worse. I mean, the country is just getting hammered from every direction. Down in the southern parts, like Sindh and Punjab, they're getting ready for heat waves so intense they're literally life-threatening. At the same time, the northern areas are facing record-breaking cold and the risk of avalanches. And all the while, the big cities in the middle are just choking on a thick, dangerous smog. This quote just hits you in the gut. The air quality has gotten so bad in cities like Lahore that people have started describing them as gas chambers. I mean, wow, that's not some future threat. That's the reality for millions of people right now. And it's a terrifying sign of what could get even worse. 50 degrees Celsius. Let that sink in for a moment. That's almost 122 degrees Fahrenheit. And this isn't a computer model predicting the future. That's a temperature that has already been recorded in southern Pakistan. And the forecasts for 2026 suggest that number could go even higher. And that incredible heat kicks off a devastating domino effect. First, the heat melts the glaciers in the north of the country way faster than they should. All that meltwater then comes rushing down into the rivers, overwhelming the dams and leading to the kind of catastrophic floods that can literally wipe entire towns off the map. And you can see how it's all connected. A climate event like a drought kills the crops, which means food shortages. Massive floods destroy farms and livestock, which leads to economic chaos. It's not just about the weather, it's a chain reaction that hits every single citizen right in their wallet and right on their dinner table. So you see, it's a crisis with so many layers. On top of the wild weather, the floods, and the pollution, there's another threat looming just beneath the surface. Pakistan sits in a seismically active danger zone, which makes large-scale earthquakes a very real possibility, just like the old prophecies warned about. And once again, science seems to be nodding along. Geologists have confirmed that the tectonic plate activity in that region is actually increasing. The memory of the horrible 2005 earthquake is a constant reminder of how vulnerable the area is, and that's only made worse by things like poor construction and urban planning in a lot of places. So, after hearing all of this, it's pretty easy to feel a sense of, well, doom. But the point of laying all this out isn't to say that this is our definite, unchangeable future. It's to frame all these converging threats as what they are, an incredibly urgent warning. The reason we're talking about this isn't to make you afraid, it's to encourage awareness. It's about taking a realistic look at the huge challenges that are coming our way. Because being informed and being mentally prepared is always the first step toward building resilience. And that leaves us with one last massive question. Is 2026 and all these predictions of disaster a glimpse into a future that's already set in stone? Or is this our planet's final desperate wake-up call, screaming at us to change course before it's truly too late? I guess the answer to that is still up to us.